Nah, hit the button. So I guess that means I'm making a video. So this is a draft physics video production and such. Anyway, physics novice. Gotta say, he's investing time. He's trying to understand. I just think he's making things more complicated than necessary. 2 plus 2 plus 2 physics. It's really all this extra is just, I don't know. Anyway, thanks for clearing up my doubts about speed. Rowers gather up, and there can exist semi-stable configurations of boats. Yes. Between them. Yes. The whole point with angles is that when I picture big 3D world, yeah, I can do that too, with all this stuff and things reflecting and going perpendicular. They only go perpendicular, right? and that only is relevant if there's something in the perpendicular locations. So yes, perpendicular becomes kind of an incentive to organization, and that's why magnetism works the way it does and things work the way they do, is because of that fact. So if it didn't do that, you could just argue that forces like magnetism wouldn't be as strong as they are, or something like that. But anyway, I don't, it's just a little bit. I think you're trying to understand at a level that this doesn't need to be complicated. Anyway, either everything is one big grid with force. No, it doesn't. Because it's perpendicular doesn't mean everything is on that grid. So because this happens in one place doesn't mean this can't happen in another place, and this can't happen in another place. So there's no perpendicular to one orientation. Everything has its own definition of perpendicular. I mean, when we stand on the earth, we both have the same definition of up, down, left, right, all that stuff. But if we're out in the middle of space, everybody can choose their own orientation. All right, if that helps. I'm just saying you're just trying to force things into, you're applying, I don't know, you're thinking too much. All right, anyway, one big grid with forces that are always perpendicular and parallel. No. Parallel is hard to achieve. And if not everything is perpendicular or parallel, we can group forces based on angles. One group cannot move like another group unless there are some additional rule. So again, 2 plus 2 plus 2. There's no rules beyond that. I've made a picture to illustrate what I mean, and I couldn't make much out of it. So it's this kind of stuff. Okay, this isn't really what I'm talking about, but obviously this would happen in atoms to some extent. Because of the perpendicular thing, there is going to be forces going in certain directions, and it seems likely that things that are balanced by that force would end up finding that a satisfactory place to be. My point with angles was that force 1 would never be able to move like force 2. The force is always, it's it's all over the place. The force is coming from all kinds of directions, and it's perpendicular to the direction of its movement, not perpendicular to the position of an electron, let's say. Alright, so the whole point of the angle thing, I mean, I certainly understand XYZ axes and stuff, yes, it's so I'll try to clarify if possible. So what I would point out is the whole conversation about angles just came up to point out that there's none of this kind of thing, okay? Like if you imagine a pool table, you can imagine two balls, this one's coming at this other one, and they barely hit each other. This one just hits the edge of this one, and there's some obtuse angle at which this reflection takes place at. That doesn't happen. On the tiny universe, there is no surfaces kind of thing. There's no slowness to the transition. You don't impose your momentum slowly. You impose it at the speed of light. So there's no problem with how you hit something. So essentially what I'm arguing is if you had a thing in space and it was made of this elemental stuff. Sorry about the reflection. I guess I should have not turned on the other light. But anyway, it's not that bad. The point is that you could clearly understand, okay, this force comes in and the center of gravity's here and all that kind of nonsense. But the point is if the force came in here and just barely hit this edge, it would be exactly the same response in the sense that there wouldn't be any movement this way. It would be all momentum this way. This guy goes into the electron. And it doesn't matter whether he's here or he's right here in the middle. It just doesn't matter. Because all you're really doing is adding up the net momentum of everybody in the boat. And it just doesn't matter. There's no seats that cause the boat to list or do any of that kind of stuff. So it's always a perpendicular interaction between the forces. Okay, that's all. The force can come at this angle. The force can come at this angle. The force can come from any angle. And the point is the reflection is always directly back. I mean, I'm drawing the line. See, I'm saying directly back, but I'm drawing the line not directly back, right? I should draw the line right on top of the old line, but obviously that doesn't make for very good viewing. The point is the guy jumping back goes back exactly the way this bit came in, and even if he hits over here, exactly where he came in, it's a reversal of the direction for the force bit. Now I'm saying to you plainly, it doesn't reverse direction. What is done is there's an exchange with what's in here. Now this even came up because the animation's coming along quite well, and any second now I'll be showing it to you. I haven't got explicit permission yet, and but I mean, he's got the force bits right, and just working on the matter bits. But part of the working on the matter bits is figuring out a way to compartmentalize, compress the data requirements of what an electron is. And so the idea would be is that the electron, you don't have to think about it as rows of seats in the center of the gravity. You just have to think about it as position, just places, like histories. So the electron stores a history of what it's interacting with. And the history, these are little just registers, just seats. And so if something comes in this way, it puts that in the register, and whatever was in this register goes back this way. So you could argue that even if this was a little bit, so of all these seats, if there's nobody in any of the seats going directly back, you just pick the one who's going the closest, and you make him go directly back. So you can turn it into a much more simple form, just to get the idea that it's the net momentum of all these seats. It's the net, what's been stored in the electron, over the past millisecond. It has a bunch of different stuff in the seats. This stuff hit it from different angles, coming from different directions, and it has a net vector in 3D. Now, part of the argument here is 3D's it's pretty much impossible to draw it, and simulating it just takes so much resources that it's not really practical. But clearly the principles all work in 2D. It's the same laws. Nothing radically changes. It's not like Einstein spent space. Migrating it to 3D doesn't mess it up in some substantial way, because the rules are correct. That's the first reason, and they're so simple. But yeah, the angles. The only point about angles is that I'm just arguing that this doesn't happen. Forces don't leave at obtuse angles. That just doesn't happen. They leave either perpendicularly or straight back. And that's just the rule. That's how the universe works. And I try to explain that with an Elysing staircase kind of idea. That if you understood the surface was Elysed, you can only hit the flat surfaces. You can't hit the risers. And the flat surfaces are always perpendicular. And that's how the momentum goes in. So I hope that clarifies. I can hope, right? Yeah. I think it's still legal in this country. Maybe. Might be in some terms of service violation. YouTube probably doesn't allow you to hope. But anyway, so Tea Party guy. Anyway, yeah, that's why I'm here. I'm very underqualified. Well, see, that's my point. You're conceding the point. You're being humble and saying, yes, I'm not a very smart person, or I don't have a great deal of knowledge on these subjects. Yet you post a comment where you say something like, I'm convinced, and you're asserting your opinion. I'm just saying, how could somebody who is qualified, right? So should qualified people like, qualified bricklayers or fence post putter-inners or, skyscraper guys, should they walk down the street and find people who just have an opinion about how to put rivets in? And should they just ask the opinion of people how to lay the bricks properly? Well, I think you should use more cement. It looks better. I think you should use wetter cement. It just looks too chunky. They should pay attention. So those who can should go to the people who can't and ask them for advice, or say thank you so much for giving me your advice. I'm saying that's why I'm being a little obnoxious. If you're going to assert an opinion on my board, you better be able to back it up, because I'm asserting opinions here. I'm asserting I'm qualified, and I'm stating what my arguments are. I'm presenting my arguments. So you have to present counter arguments to demonstrate you're qualified to challenge the assertions I'm making. By you asserting something stupid, you're challenging my assertions. You don't get that? You're asserting something entirely different on my board than what I'm saying, and then you're conceding you don't know what you're talking about. Do you see how that just doesn't make any sense? That I have no choice but to be a little bit, fuck you, fella. I don't need this crap. All right. A little bit of a pause, thank you. I believe I'm back. Okay, continuing. If I knew all the answers, I wouldn't be here watching your videos. So, again, this isn't about knowing all the answers. It's about your direct assertions challenging well-established science. So you're just basically showing up saying, I'm a science denier, right? When you talk about there's no fossils, when clearly there's a ton of fossils of deformed humans, if you want to call them that. Humans that aren't like us, okay? They have a different skull. But clearly human. Clearly upright walking, clearly lots of things. So, this is, you're just making assertions based on no evidence, and you're just doing it for some reason because you have to believe that, there's got to be a better truth than you're a fucking walking and talking fish. But there is no better truth. That's the fucking truth. And it's well established by so much fucking evidence. And you just don't want to believe it. And then you said, I'm supposed to have respect, or I'm supposed to say, really great to hear your opinion. When it's denying the evidence, denying the science, you're pointing out clearly that you don't know. It's not even that you don't know all the answers. You don't know shit, okay, about the science. Shit, you don't know shit. All right. Just trying to learn. No, that's not what you're trying to do. So fuck you. That's just bullshit. You show up here Tea Party LA, all right? You already got a fucking attitude. You're already wearing your politics right on your fucking sleeve. You're saying to me, I'm probably a huge fucking goddamn moron, all right? Because I belong to a party of bunch of scapegoat, bigoted motherfucking cunts. Okay, ass wipes who think inheritance is great. Fuck you in the ass till dead, right, for that. So I cut that. I said, okay, all right, well, let it go. I let that go. And then you start criping about your Jesus crap and your motherfucking goddamn hatred of evolutionary science. How much of that shit am I supposed to take from you, you arrogant fuck? You're an ignorant fuck, and you're arrogant as fuck. You get it? Jesus Christ. Never claimed to be an expert. Doesn't matter. You asserted it as if you had some fucking qualification, as if your opinion wasn't something you just pulled out of your skanky stinking ass and shoved on the plate. You served it like it was food. You put it on a plate with knife and fork and everything else, and you implied that somebody should eat this shit. And it's fucking shit. All right. trying to learn here. No, that's not what you're trying to do. You're clearly trying to do something else, you fucking dumb cunt. Okay, trying to learners sit quietly and listen. Okay, and then they ask specific questions that are on the fucking subject. They don't make assertions, shithead. Kids in a classroom don't get to just assert things. I think your dress is ugly. I think Einstein was stupid looking. They don't get to make their fucking idiotic. Their opinion doesn't mean anything. Take it easy, bro. Shove your bro up your ass. I'm not your fucking bro. I'm not your boy. I'm not your dude. I'm not any of that fucking goddamn shit. So shove that shit, fucker. Good thing I don't get offended easy. I do. Because I have integrity. And when shit fucking ass wipes walk up to me with a goddamn plate with shit on it and say, eat this, yeah, I know what to say. Fuck you. Jesus. Just try to defend the fact that you're an arrogant, ignorant fuck. You deserve your title. You are a cliche Tea Party member. Don't know nothing, just talk a lot. Fuck you. Don't know shit about what you're talking about. Fuck you. If you can't do better than that, you can't actually stay on the fucking subject, then just fuck off. What do you think I need you for? What do you think I there's something I should value about interaction with you? What? What kind of possible delusion do you have in your head that I could have some fucking use for a dumbass, arrogant fuck? Just making noises. Stupid noises. Irritating noises. Alright. Holiday. He's changed himself into this. He's got a cause now. I mean, she's, let it go. I'm just telling you, bro. I'm telling you, bro. You ain't gonna win. The man's gonna win. Okay? The man has all the guns, all the power, all the bullshit. And yes, it'd be nice if we had a system that had some integrity, but clearly all the politicians only win because they lie like a cunt, okay, about what they're gonna do, because their real agenda is something entirely different. And they put people on the courts and they're scum, and that's just the way it is. Most humans are assholes, and the politics is a perfect reflection of their asshole, absent, vacant ethics. People fucking suck. And that's why their governments are full of suck. Alright. Do you know why orthodox physics doesn't call an electron and a proton a magnet and simply calls it a dipole? Clearly, they're only doing it because Maxwell said so, right? I mean, that's the clear reason. They just don't care about the fact that Maxwell's clearly wrong. They don't even understand that Maxwell really didn't know what electrons and protons were, so how the fuck could he declare the non-existence of something he didn't know about? And if they really thought about Maxwell's fucking mathematics, they could realize that, well, why does he split the speed of light into two different constants? Instead of just putting C in his equations, he has the permeability of space and the permittivity of space. He has these two stupid constants. But those constants actually are a composite of the speed of light. So you can convert them into the speed of light by multiplying them specific ways by a specific number. You can create the speed of light. So they have that built into them. Okay, and that's only because he split what is one field into two fields, right? He created this delusionary magnetic field, electric field duality that doesn't exist. It's all the same field, and you either have repulsion or attraction, and again, we know that magnetism is the special effect, right? We know that there's no electric field. There's electricity, and that's the part where the atoms are expanding and contracting to share their weight with each other. They're pushing on each other, let's just say it that way. And that effect of expanding and contracting also makes them dipoles. At the same time, it causes them to be polarly changed from different perspectives. So if I move the electron further away from you or I move it closer, I'm dipoling the atom. Well, I'm also communicating pressure to the other atoms. So the two things are completely related, which is true, but there's only one force causing the two effects. The two effects are fundamentally different, being a dipole, okay, showing you my dipoleness, and the fact that I have pressure or I don't have pressure. So the fact that I expanded has two implications. One we call a magnetic effect, and one we call a charge effect. But in fact, they're the same frickin' thing. It's the same communicator between them. It's the same virtual photon. So the field is the same field causes both effects. Say that again. The same field creates both effects. And because Maxwell didn't know that, he couldn't account for the magnetic monopoles because he already thought they were electric monopoles. He always thought that he already said they're already electric monopoles. They can't be the magnetic monopole because they're already the electric monopole. So that's it. And it's just a declaration by Maxwell. It doesn't have any significance in any way whatsoever. It doesn't mean anything. It only means something in the context of understanding that their mathematics is dependent on having E and B fields separate, and they're not separate things. The field is always the same, and the point is whether the electric field and whether the magnetic field, more particularly, will be oriented in such a way that it will cause its maximum effect. That is, all the dipoles will be lined up, and because that's the difference, right? You can have pressure in the atom, but if the pressure is pointed this way, this way, this way, all different ways, you don't have any magnetism. You just have electricity, if you get my meaning, right? So if in one atom the electron is further from the proton from this perspective, from you looking at me, and the other atom it's from this perspective, so that guy sees the electron further away, and from this perspective over here. So if I mix all the dipoles, no magnetism. But if all the dipoles are lined up the same way, magnetism. So the simple answer is because Maxwell says so. That's it. That's all there is. All right. I don't believe in magnetic monopoles, says Robert Ritchie. Why should I care, Robert? I'm really, again, you've made comments here before. Don't you understand? I'm soliciting arguments, not your declarations. If you can't back up your argument with some kind of reasoning, I have nothing to say to you, and you don't. Okay, you will have to persuade me. Well, I can only persuade you with logic. The logic I've presented is, what exactly would a magnetic monopole look like? And I'm saying it would look just like an electron and a proton together would be the dipole. So how can the electron and the proton not be the monopoles when the dipole is a magnet? You tell me how it's possible. If I put an electron next to a proton and they're not spinning around or doing anything silly, they're just sitting there like that, how is that not a magnetic dipole? You have to persuade me with evidence. Yeah, well, I'm sorry, what do you want? You want a videotape of electrons and protons? The only evidence there is in this world, okay, is citing the experiments and citing, the models that work. Now, the model of the magnet is kind of one that everybody's talked about. I mean, it's really a bunch of little magnets inside the magnet. I think everybody gets that part, and it all has to do with the alignment of the dipoles. And what are the dipoles of a magnet? The atoms. Do you think something other than the atom is the dipole? What the fuck is your rationale here? There can't be any. So I can't give you any more of an argument. I think I've made a convincing argument, and I've said, show me where my argument's wrong somewhere. But what do you want me to do? You want me to pick up a magnet and show you the electrons inside of it? So you don't believe that atoms cause magnetism. That atoms are the dipoles that are the origin of the magnetic effect in a magnet. It has to do with the alignment of the atoms. You don't believe that. Then you're a fucking idiot. And the only monopoles I am aware are of are gravity-based. Well, then you're really insane. I'm sorry, there's just no evidence of this repulsive gravity. How could there be dipoles and monopoles when we know that how could there be monopoles when we know the monopoles of the same origin or substance, electrons and protons, would repel each other? How is it possible to talk about gravity-based? Gravity clearly doesn't have any polar significance. That's why it's so much weaker a force. You know, I don't mean to say it, but too stupid. I mean, just too stupid. Your comment's saying nothing. It's not answering the question. I directly assert to you, I can't give you... What do you want me to exactly to do? Like I said, give you a videotape? Where do you think the model is wrong? Do you think atoms are not made of electrons and protons? What the fuck shit do you have as an idea? Oh, this is so useful. My husband thinks you're drunk. Are you? Gee, what a great argument. Like, this isn't even a woman, right? This is like some kind of guy pretending to be a woman. You know, using never had any possibility of achieving any kind of results I was looking for, but I did find that their use of the diode or interferometry method was very important, because whatever entities there were able to use this energy. We did a lot of experiment to create, so this is some kind of Tesla nut, I guess. I don't know. Jesus. Great, you have a lot of substance. Oh, shit. Fuck off. For good, forever. You know, get hit by a truck, please. Please, 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 please. Slip on the cliche banana peel. Ugh. Human scum. Alright, tell everybody how energy is created again. So again, I did give this guy, right, I read his comment, I responded, I made the counter arguments, I said, look, just answer a couple of simple little questions, we could do a live room, whatever, you could base up your assertions with some kind of evidence or reasoning. Nope. So totally coward, chicken the fuck out like they all do. So, and just reasserts the same quote mining, where he says, I have somewhere in my theory the idea that energy is created from nothing. Energy is created by the simple fact that the universe starts with something going this way and something going that way. Clearly there's balance there. And clearly the argument is what you can do is you can delay this something from getting where it was going. You could get trapped somewhere. And it never gets to this thing. And that's what creates the imbalance. And that's what we call energy. But what was really the energy? Well, the little bits moving is really the energy. So again, I've never asserted that energy is created. So just lie some more. I'm just a fucking liar, proven, demonstrated. You can't demonstrate any more convincingly. Yeah, I give him the opportunity to answer my response, and he does nothing. He picks up no piece of the challenge and deals with it. Total lying weasel scum. We should go out and find his parents and beat the crap out of them. A civilization, a real civilization would do that. Okay, he had bad parenting. You don't be this kind of a useless weasel unless you were raised by scum. Alright. So, are people not allowed to simplify science? Isn't that an amazing statement, right? So they're making assertions about the existence of things as if they've proven them with some kind of great experiments and they have great evidence. And you counter that with, no, their evidence absolutely sucks and their theory doesn't really work. The lens is the wrong fucking shape. Something quite obvious you can point out. And that's saying don't simplify science. Now, I will point out that simplifying science is kind of a complex idea. How do you simplify it? I mean, people simplify life by saying life is love. You know, do you think that simplification is true to the story that that tells it all? You know, that really is the kernel. It's all perfectly well sewn up. A very good theory. It keeps it keeps true to the truth. No, it's horseshit, and I'm making that argument. So you're the one who has no logic. You're just a little scumbag. So let's see who this fucker is. Whatever a Satalon is. Probably shoot his parents if they actually called him that. Oh, look, he talks maybe. Let's see the big intro. Oh yeah, you're cool. Yeah. Wow. That's Hitler shooting himself. Wow, really cool guy. I'm so impressed. Oh, he's a gun nut too. Oh, you're so cool. I mean, yeah, I'm sorry. You know, this is why there was Nazi Germany. I mean, this is why people just say, no, I cannot inhabit the same planet with this kind of shit. I just can't do it. No, I'm not going to do it. Make me tanks and do stuff so we can run them over, because I can't live here with that kind of shit. What if the aliens show up and they see one of those people? What are they going to think of us? It's humiliating and embarrassing to have that guy on this planet. I mean, fuck. Fuck. He actually thinks this is cool somehow, or meaningful, or relevant. Amazing. Just an amazing planet of re-fucking-tards. Shit. Hilarious. Boy. What I have to endure. It's just horrible. Alright, so maybe we'll just keep it simple, stupid. I don't think anybody's made any videos. So I probably could respond to something, or I just haven't finished my definitions paper yet for the new words, so I just haven't gotten to that yet. So this is the next Bill Gatey video, but it's not there yet. Why don't you say live when it's not live? It's just a little irritating. I mean, he will be when he is. But, I shouldn't put the word on there until it is actually live. Let's see. Donald Scott breakthrough. Counter rotation at center. Oh, no, it's probably not a breakthrough. They say, oh, no, the galaxy. There's stuff in the galaxy moving the wrong way. There's probably something right next to it blew up. But anyway. People are just so desperate. Alright, so all these videos are just horrible. Photosynthesis explained by a physicist. I don't think so. Fundraiser. Ah! No, thank you. We need more money for whatever this guy is. He's not. I won't even insult Barney the dinosaur, you know, because they shouldn't be in the same categories, but they are. Alright. Now in physics, most people don't know that wine moves like this. Yeah, right. It goes up the side of the glass. Wow. Too interesting. Probably it's just because of the alcohol. But anyway, it's just, who cares? No, not me. Obviously, I don't. Alright, so we'll just keep it short. I can make a video later, maybe. And such. Yeah, I think that's what we'll do. There's just nothing to feed on here. People are just too useless.